Leading off our discussion tonight, Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado is a member of the House Intelligence and Armed Services Committees and is a former U.S. Army Ranger. Congressman, thank you for coming to The Last Word. What do you think of one of Trump voters, in this case, Megyn Kelly, her assessment of where we are now in Trump's war?
Well, I wish I could say I was surprised, but this was entirely foreseeable. You know, we saw the last 14 months, Donald Trump conduct 7 different bombing campaigns in 7 different countries, and he treated all of them like a reality TV show. Right? Put the video on there, come up with great names for the operation, Operation Epic Fury, Operation Midnight Hammer, Project Freedom. You know, who could be against Project Freedom? Problem is when you're dealing with great power competition in a global national security strategy, it takes more than a great buzz line, a great name of an operation, and short video clips to actually deliver a result, in which case, here we are in a quagmire with no real way out of it.
You know, Trump has backed down from his day-old operation in the Strait in search of some kind of deal. Previous talks yielded nothing, in part because, as Trump himself has said, he's not even sure who's in charge in Iran.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, let's look at some of the most recent events, right? We initiated a blockade of their blockade. Then we had Project Freedom, which was going to be navigating ships through the Straits of Hormuz, which lasted less than 24 hours. Then we said, earlier in the war that we had obliterated their nuclear weapons. Now they came back and said, no, we haven't obliterated their nuclear weapons. In fact, most of it remains, their stockpile, rather, their capability, most of it remains in place. So this is just bumbling from one day to the next. Meanwhile, we have become the laughingstock around the world, right? Our allies have been pushed away, have been demeaned, and we have marginalized ourselves. We have really no coalition here. We have spent tens of billions of dollars of taxpayer money in this and depleted our munition stockpile. And the worst is there are 13 service members who have died and given their lives, and over 400 who have been wounded, right? This is it's just so absurd. I'm just angry talking about it right now. And it's exactly why Congress, which actually has the power to stop this right now, tomorrow, we could go to Congress and take a vote and stop this. That's why it's Congress's job to rein in this out-of-control presidency.
Well, on that point, Congressman, according to Marco Rubio, the war is over, and what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz is defensive. Is this just a way to avoid getting congressional approval for Trump's war?
Well, why don't they tell that to the 55,000 U.S. service members stationed throughout the Middle East and the folks on the ships who have been attacked in the last 48 hours? Why don't they tell that to the service members who have been wounded? Why don't they tell that to the American taxpayers who are still paying billions of dollars for our troop presence, the Navy blockade, for the munitions that we're using? You know, they just like to claim things are over, yet the reality is starkly different. You know, Americans, working class Americans like I fought with and who served and died during the 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan that, served those 3 combat tours with me, they know better. They're the ones that actually have to still be on the line. So no, it's not over. The adversary always has a vote when something is over. And we have unfortunately started something without a plan for finishing it. The first step here, and I don't want to just be the person criticizing, there is a first step that we can take that can get us back on a path to winding this down and keeping us safe. And that is, we have to re-engage with our allies. Donald Trump has to stop demeaning and attacking NATO. And we have to build an international coalition of countries that are willing to join with us to secure the region, to stop the shooting, to actually secure passage through the straits, and get us back on track to a permanent and verifiable deal to prevent nuclear weapons from ever happening in Iran. But that so far has not happened.
Oh, well, Congressman, is your first step is a logical one. I'm just wondering, is that even realistic now, given who the President of the United States is, the Commander-in-Chief is? He he's spent the entirety of his presidency now degrading and humiliating our allies. Would it just be self-preservation on their part if the president were to take the logical first step that you're talking about and re-engage with the United States?
Well, first of all, I'm not saying Donald Trump is going to do this, right? I mean, it's one thing to say what actually needs to happen and what the right thing to do is. It's another to look at Donald Trump, who I don't think is mentally fit to be in office right now, who operates by vengeance primarily and emotion, right? Let's not forget that he just announced the drawdown of thousands of troops in Europe just because he's upset at the Chancellor of Germany. Right, this man is in charge of our national security and the security of our country and our military, and he makes decisions primarily based on emotion, not facts, not the advice of the generals, the admirals, and our intelligence community. So that is the danger that we all now face. So no, I'm not holding my breath to think that he's going to do that. And then the second part of the question is, will our allies join with us? Maybe. I mean, there is common cause here. They have a stake at the outcome of this as well, but we just have to have the right leadership. And if he doesn't do the right thing, then again, this comes back to Congress. Congress can force them to do the right thing because constitutionally, we do have the authority over matters of war and peace, and we can assert that authority.
Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado, thank you very much for joining us tonight.